Patriot. Let's see. Steve, Pennsylvania, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to call about something you mentioned earlier about Obama owning the unemployment. And I disagree because he kept the tax cuts, and Boehner promised us that keeping tax cuts in for the richest and all the corporations are going to create more jobs. And obviously that hasn't, because we've been cutting taxes for a decade now, and we have record unemployment. So I just think that that's...
So the stimulus package had nothing to do with the debt and the deficit, the transfer of investment from job-creating companies into gold and silver.
The stimulus kept unemployment...
No, it didn't. It rose. Sir, it rose. If you're going to argue with the Labor Department and the CBO, pick up the phone and call them. I'm going on their numbers. Unemployment rose to 10% from the stimulus package.
What would it have been if we didn't inject liquidity into the economy? What would it have been then? What would the employment been then?
You can't predict that.
History says I'm right. History says during the Depression there was no liquidity. That's why unemployment was so high.
All right, so here, do this, sir. Go out and support Obama's $450 billion jobs package, and when unemployment goes even higher, say, I have history on my side.
Okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about the tax cuts? They haven't done anything for the economy except
they've allowed more people to keep the money that they earned.
And what does that do?
Simply earning money in this country does not put you in debt to everything the government wants to do, sir.
What does that do for jobs? What does that do for jobs?
You can repeat. What does it do for jobs? What does it do for jobs?
That's what we're talking about. We're talking
long-term tax policy. Okay, you're going to talk over me. I'm going to hang up on you. This is not the Steve Show.
Go ahead.
The fact of the matter is, when the government doesn't give a long-term plan for companies to grow, when it says, I'll give you a payroll tax today, a tax holiday is not a long-term plan. When the government when you hear windfall profits tax, a demonization of the oil companies, when the tax write-offs that the oil companies use, that are the same tax write-offs that all the companies use, when they demonize that doesn't work, sir. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I get you, but my response to that would be that these companies are already sitting on a ton of cash. Their problem is not cash. Their problem is demand. More people are out of work, which means there's no demand, which means these companies aren't growing. Because
where does the government get its ability to support demand, sir?
It's not. It's helping them. It can help demand by creating.
No, the problem with the use of John Maynard Keynes' philosophy here was Keynes was very specific that a government couldn't stimulate an economy with structural debt and deficit, of which we have both.
And we learned how well that worked out during the Depression. All right, no liquidity, nothing in the economy, and we sat there for a decade-long unemployment to the war. So, I mean, what I'm saying is the government could do things to help out. It's not. So these companies are not.
But we have structural debt and deficits, sir. The fact of the matter is the government has overstepped its boundaries so many times that the fact that we have an overbearing government is the problem. It is. There is no warrant in the Constitution for half the stuff this government does. And it doesn't matter who's the president. There is no warrant in the Constitution for these policies, sir. You can't find it.
You're right. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the government has gone too large and overbearing. But I mean, they have to do something to help. When a
company trying to turn out a product has on one side class action lawyers all over it, at the same time bureaucrats over-regulating it, how is anyone to run a business in this country, sir?
Are you saying there should be zero regulation?
Not zero regulations, but when you have regulations for the sake of regulations so the bureaucracies can look like they're doing something, sir. Regulations should be kept at a minimum.
Okay, well, I mean, tell that to the people.
Look, fine, again, do it your way. We've been doing it your way. And we've been doing it your way, sir. Okay? You can call it cutting taxes, but okay. So what is the stimulus package costing the taxpayer in the end?
Well, it's about $1 trillion now, right?
Well, you said we're cutting taxes. Are we going to have to pay for that on the back end?
Of course we're going to have to cut.
So you're not cutting taxes then, sir. Cutting taxes today by greater spending tomorrow, which we're going to have to pay those taxes later down the road, is still paying those taxes. The government is spending money on things it should not be spending money on. It is not the federal government's job to keep a teacher in the classroom. It is not the federal government's job to keep a firefighter in a firehouse. It is not the federal government's job to keep a cop on the beat. It is not the federal government's job to build a bridge in a community. That is not the federal government's job. If I'm wrong, you point to that in the Constitution, and I will shut up.
Well, I hope the Republicans stop their hypocrisy.
No. I want you to tell me where in the Constitution the federal government is supposed to be taxing the communities, taxing the states, and then having the states become agents of the federal government, begging for their cops and firefighters, rather than efficiently taxing where people pay for their firefighters at the local level. You tell me that, and I will shut up.
The income tax has been proven constitutional.
The spending hasn't.
Okay,
you tell me, sir. I can read the 16th Amendment. I know what it says. Taxing from wherever derived. But that doesn't empower the federal government to spend outside the enumerated powers in Article 1, Section 8. So you tell me, I want you to tell me where the federal government gets the power to pay for a local fire department.
Well,
you don't have an answer.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for the call. No, you don't. Thank you very much for the call. You don't. You simply don't. You simply don't have an answer. When you turn townships into clients of counties, and counties into clients of states, and states into clients of the federal government, then everybody is paying taxes to the layer of government above them, or 2 layers, or 3 layers above them, then going to beg for what it was they would have done had the tax rates not been raised on them. And if a community blows its money on stupid stuff and then can't afford its fire department anymore, that is not the problem of taxpayers in other communities. That means the people in that community have to get rid of their mayor and their city council and get back to efficiently taxing and spending. There is no warrant in the Constitution for the federal government to pay for your local fire department.